I know you might be wondering why I haven't posted a video for the past 2 months, and I'll explain that towards the end of the video. But more importantly, this weekend I'll be at 4-State Comic-Con in Hagerstown, Maryland on October 20th and 21st. Now onto the build. Shh. Time to grind Wolverine claws. One down, 5 more to go. I lost the footage that I got of how all 6 claws looked when they were ground to shape, so we're just going to skip straight to the heat treat process with the bread forge.
Propane tank goes in the end. You see it's starting to fall apart. But it's real hot in there. Time to stick a claw in. Somebody in the comments on the bread forge video told me that the plaster that I used would gas off, I believe it was sulfur dioxide, and that it's dangerous. And it smells horrible, so I'm staying away from it. But thanks for the heads up. Appreciate that. That side's hot. Time to switch the torch. A little noisy. Check that out. Let's see if I can run the camera while I quench this. Here we go. I'm going to do the rest of the claws before the forge completely falls apart and while it's still hot. Hopefully it doesn't disintegrate by the time I'm done. I couldn't be happier right now because my bread forge worked. There was no way I was getting those claws up to temperature to be able to quench and harden them with just the torch, and this thing did the job. And it started falling apart. In fact, it's pretty disintegrating right now. So it's single use, but it worked for what I had to do, which is awesome. Because doing all kinds of different projects like this, hence the name Jack of all, master of none, Jarris of all, master of none, is because I like to try new things, and this worked out. And that doesn't happen that often, but every single claw skates a file, which means I got them nice and hard. And now it's time to pull the scale off and take off the grinder marks to make them nice and smooth so they look more like bones. It's wonderful when things work out the way they're supposed to. Time to use a flap disc. Can't get it too hot, otherwise I'll pull the hardness out of it. Gotta be careful. They're all done, nice and pretty and shiny, and now it's time to temper them. And the internet says that I'm supposed to throw these in the oven at 400 for an hour. The internet isn't always right, but I found a whole bunch of places that said that that's what I should do. And then they should come out a nice light straw color, meaning they've been tempered, so that they're not brittle, because right now they're super hard. Let's give it a shot. It worked. They're straw colored. And a little rusty. These are really close to being ready for paint, but I need to clean up the rust that's on them and sand them down to give them some tooth. But then I thought, instead of spending all that time hand sanding, which would be perfectly safe, why not try another experiment and do something dangerous? And I found this old muriatic acid that I had laying around. It's 20% hydrochloric acid. That will etch the metal and give me nice tooth to paint onto. Hopefully the paint won't flake off then, and it'll also remove the rust at the same time. I don't have very much of this, and I didn't know what to put it in because it's hydrochloric acid and it burns through almost anything, but it's very unreactive to plexiglass. So I took a heat gun and this piece of scrap plexiglass that I had, and I heated it into a trough that is basically the shape of the claws so that I don't need very much acid to be able to cover them. This stuff won't break down with that acid in it for days versus this, which will take an etch in minutes. This stuff is super dangerous. Not only will it burn through almost anything because it's hydrochloric acid, but it will also give off chlorine gas as it etches the metal, which kills you. So I need to do this outside and make sure I don't breathe any of the fumes that come off of this. Hardening these worked, tempering them worked. I'm gonna go 3 for 3 and see if the acid puts a nice finish on these. Here we go. See those little bubbles? Chlorine gas. It'll kill you. About an hour and a half in, and it looks pretty much the way I want it to. I think this is gonna work out. I got a little baking soda and water bath here to neutralize the acid. Time to do the other 5. About 30 minutes left on the last 2 claws. This took a little longer than I expected it to. Good thing plexiglass isn't very reactive with hydrochloric acid because they've been in here for a while. But everything's coming off and the etch looks real nice.
I'm gonna get a coat of paint on these right away. I'm using antique white, and if this doesn't look enough like bones, I'll change that later. Oh, these garbage cans. What is the deal, Rust-Oleum? You got these things clogged constantly. Been shaking this for 5 minutes. Pro tip, save and clean out your old spray paint caps. Yeah, see, it's not even the cap that's clogged, it's the friggin' can. Would you just look at it? Shake hand vigorously for 1 minute after mixing bowl begins to rattle. I've been shaking this for like 5 minutes, and it's still clogged. It's not even coming out of the can. Oh my goodness, come on. Guess I'm gonna have to use a different color. The metal is perfectly clean, and I rinsed it real thoroughly, but it will start to rust if I don't get some paint on it. So I'm throwing on some clean metal primer for the ultimate finish right now. Make sure this thing doesn't start rusting, because then the paint will flake off. Is that a pro tip? This is unacceptable. I know I'm giving Rust-Oleum a lot of grief, but Rust-Oleum makes really great paint, so that's why I continue to use Rust-Oleum products, even though the can's clog. You pop the little black thing out and clean the whole thing out with solvent, and then you've got good extra spray paint caps laying around. Nozzles, not caps. Heirloom white, satin finish, the most bone-looking color I could find. That looks pretty bone-colored, right? Bone colored. While I was putting these things back together after the paint had dried, I got some rust on my hands, and it weathered them better than I think I can weather them if I tried to use some kind of paint. Just rub my hand on some rusty metal. And now they look like dirty bones. At least I think so. But this will come right off. So I'm gonna throw some matte clear on there. Time to make those brackets that'll hold them onto my arm so they don't flop all over the place. It'll be nice and solid. I felt like it would be totally redundant to show you how to grind and drill metal like I have in the past couple of videos, so I just made the brackets for my arms. They latch together with these little... I'll show you. There's a slot, there's a tab. You pinch them together and it latches together and it holds tightly onto my arm. These are just made out of mild steel sheet metal, and I just painted them white so that they wouldn't rust. These things are basically done. But I want to put some JB Weld 2-part epoxy around the grip areas to give my hands a better purchase when I'm actually using these things. If this stuff is warm, it sets up pretty fast. So you can't do a whole lot at once because the bigger the mass is, the more heat's in it. It's just like regular epoxy. So I'm going to do smaller amounts. I'm not going to try to do both of them at the same time. And it's pretty sticky, but you can make it completely not sticky by using some water. So I'll put it on, and then I'll get the glove wet, and then I'll grab it, and that'll give me my shape. And the glove won't stick to it. It'll just stick to the metal because it'll only be wet on the outside. Can't add too much to each one because, well, it's already pretty tight. I'm not sure if these ones on the ends are necessary or not, but I'm gonna put them on there anyway. I realized after I had made these that this is a leverage point to here, and that's dangerous, and this is why. The force is going to be coming from the tips of the blades, and the fulcrum point is here, and then the other leverage point is here, which is basically in the middle of the forearm bones, which is the best place to try to break these. So I'm gonna have to be really careful not to break my arm when I use these claws. The epoxy's all set up, and now it's time to put these things on to test them, which I'm not going to film because it's difficult enough to put them on by myself, much less while I'm filming. And I got some fake blood to make them look more realistic. So I'm gonna try to put that on also. See you in a second. I got them on. I'm gonna show you a couple close-ups, and then I'm gonna chop some stuff up. Do a watermelon. A little more, woo, cinematic. Fake blood stains your hands. And it scratched me a little bit right there, but other than that, I'm unscathed. And I know the goal was to climb a tree with these, but the problem is I haven't been able to find a dead tree because I don't want to hurt a living tree with them
by, you know, Wolverine my way up it. But I promise as soon as I find a tree to climb, I'll climb it and make a video of it. The next project I'm working on is a big build. A full superhero costume with giant wings. I'm gonna be Archangel from X-Men. I'm gonna make huge all aluminum wings. It's gonna be crazy. You can see the build progress so far if you come to 4-State Comic-Con in Hagerstown, Maryland at the Hager Hall Convention Center this weekend. October 20th, 11 to 7, and October 21st, 11 to 5. It's where Barefoot Bernie's in Cancun Canteen is. It's easy to find. And not only will I be there and you can come hang out with me, but you can also help me work on the wings, because I'm going to bring them down and show you my progress so far, and you can help me figure out and work on the stuff that I'm, doing for it and whatnot. And this is a really great convention. Tons of comic books, celebrity guests. It's smaller, but that's what makes it so good. I hope I see you there. And now for why I haven't posted a video in 2 months. Long story short, I got burned out. I didn't know that burnout could cause a chemical imbalance, but it did. I had a really hard time trying to figure out how to do shots and put scenes together. Basically got to the point where it was almost impossible for me to film, much less edit and everything that goes along with it. And I'm a one-man show, so I just kept pushing and pushing until the problem got so extreme that I sought help because I couldn't figure out what to do. And obviously the help worked because I'm back. And my next couple projects are going to be really awesome. I already mentioned Archangel, but after that is Aquaman, and I've got some other projects that are going to be sprinkled in between. I'm excited. And I'll see you again very soon in my next video. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video. Next time. Yep.
What is a motorcycle made of?
Tubes.
I'm sorry, you say tubes?
Glass and tubes.
I can really feel you picturing a motorcycle and trying.